had a great announcement with our partners, Etihad, Fly Dubai.
But also with a large backlog, how does Airbus typically prioritize delivery slots?
The supply chain has been a distraction. We're now seeing the end of the supply chain issues.
Gabrielle, thank you so much for being with us on CNN Business Arabic, as always. First, I want to start by asking you, so in the latest forecast, you've said that Airbus expects the Middle East fleet to double by 2044, more than double actually. What gives you the confidence that this growth can be supported despite current production challenges?
So first of all, thank you, Paula, for the interview. I really appreciate it in the midst of the 19th edition of the Dubai International Air Show. So yes, indeed, we said we expect in the next 20 years about 4,000 aircraft to be operational, specifically in the Middle East. And you probably saw today the announcements we made at the trade show. So we had a great announcement with our partners Etihad, Fly Dubai, and also with Ethiopia on our brand new A350 aircraft and also our 321, the narrow bodies. I think this is really explaining the journey of those 4,000 aircraft, and clearly the need and the growth in the region is here. We saw it today, and we're seeing also coming. Clearly the supply chain has been a distraction. We're now seeing the end of the supply chain issues. So that's the target. We're doing the ramp up of all our products. As you know, on the single aisle, we're ramping up to rate 75. On the 350s, we'll be ramping up to 12 aircraft a month. That's by 2028. Of course, to feed this demand that is coming from this region, but also globally in Airbus.
So you said we're almost at the end of or Airbus is ramping up to end the production, let's say, delays that were happening over the past years due to different issues like the supply chain constraints and the pandemic and whatnot. But also with a large backlog, how does Airbus typically prioritize delivery slots? And how do you take into account the Middle East specifically when doing these delivery slots?
Sure. So as you said, we've got a record backlog, more than 8,500 aircraft on our backlog in our books, which is the biggest one we've had in Airbus since we started in the history. Clearly, the prioritization doesn't exist. It's a first come, first served basis. And really, at the moment, if you're a new airline to request customers, our earliest availability would be around 2031, which is showing the need to ramp up in order to feed those airline requirements.
And then I want to ask you, when it comes to localization, training, and industrial agreements across the Gulf, which partnerships, in your view, has delivered tangible outcomes, and which ones are you looking most forward to?
Sure. So for us, it's not just about selling aircraft, it's also about building that partnership, long-term partnership. And I think a great example is what we're building here in the UAE with some of the local entities. So today we announced a new work package with Mubadala, with Strata specifically. We've been working for them for the last 17 years on the wide bodies. So we've given them a work package. We are going to work with them on the single aisle ailerons, that's for the 320 family, and that will be produced here locally. So before we could say that 95% of the wide body aircraft had made in the UAE parts, then we can also bring some of those components on the single aisle family, which is great. We also had an agreement with Mubadala for extension of internships that we have with them, with our local training school in Toulouse, and also other partners like DII around quantum and some technology. So we really want to develop this ecosystem because we believe that that knowledge transfer will create jobs and will contribute to the local economies for jobs here. Going back to the figure that we mentioned about the next 20 years, we see the 4,000 aircraft need. Of course, you cannot have that without having the whole human capital support. So we see that is accompanied by around 265,000 jobs. These are new pilots, technicians, cabin crew, and we need to help develop this ecosystem in order to fuel that need that the airlines have.
And I want to also ask you, as demand is increasing, also sustainability pressures for all aircrafts is also increasing. How do you balance between the two?
Well, indeed. I mean, and we had the opening meeting with His Excellency, the Undersecretary of Energy of the UAE, was a SAF committee, and we hosted the SAF committee here in our hospitality chalet. And clearly, as I mentioned to His Excellency, we, Airbus, have to go through the commitment of net zero by 2050, and this is our license to operate. I would say we see 4 pillars around sustainability. The first one is having newer aircraft, which are already 20 to 25 more efficient than previous generation aircraft. The second pillar is SAF, sustainable aviation fuels. At the moment, our aircraft are capable of flying on 50% blend of SAF. By 2030, we'll be able to do that at 100% SAF. Of course, the other one, the third pillar, is new technologies like new wing technologies, new materials, new designs, and also engine technologies like the open fan that we're looking at it. It's a new architecture. And the last one is air navigation. So making flight routes, optimizing flight routes so that the consumption of fuel is lower and thereby the lower CO2 emissions. So that's our commitment. We're investing over 3 billion every year in R&D in order to work on new technologies and new projects that could support sustainability.
Gabriel, thank you so much for being with us on CNN Business
Thank you,
Arabic.
Paula. Pleasure.